So let people see God in and through your body. So let's take our relationship and do a torque test, all right? Here's the question. Does he or she respect my boundaries or pressure me to cross them? In other words, have you established clear physical boundaries and communicated them out loud? That's so important. Don't make assumptions on something like this. Have you talked about it? Say, oh, it's so embarrassing. We can't talk about it. Then step out of that relationship, right? If you can't have that conversation, if you're thinking they're going to reject you, if you want to talk to them about what the sex boundaries are, then you're in a relationship with the wrong person. It's not going to go where you want it to go. You know how I know? I know because the scriptures says it, but I know because I've been a pastor for over 30 years. You know how many people I have talked to who thought they were the exception to these what God says here? I'm not telling you this because I got it all figured out. I'm telling you because the scripture teaches it, and I've seen it played out in different people's lives over and over again. When when we are alone, does he or she honor those boundaries or push against them? Do they protect my purity or they make me feel guilty for having standards? See, horsepower is going to say, oh, they're not necessary. We love one another. We'd never hurt one another. But torque is going to say they're essential. Why? Because we're more focused on our future than we are our present pleasure. We're moving forward. Paul, and again, he says in Thessalonians, God's will is for you to be holy, to stay away from all sexual sin. Then each of you will control his own body and live in holiness and honor, not in lustful passion like the pagans who do not know God. So let's score ourselves, right? It's a green light, relationship's going well, that you both initiate and protect the purity of the relationship. Something you're doing as a team. You're not pushing back. He's not. It's we're caution if you haven't talked about it. Like we need to step back. We need to have this conversation because if not, I'm going to give away something I can't ever get back. Because there's a spiritual aspect. Like I said, sex is God's idea, and every time you and I have sex with someone, we're giving a part of that away. And it's if they pressure, guilt trip, or try to manipulate, just get out of the relationship. But I love him, but you're going to be miserable in coming years. Because can I tell you why? Listen, it's not he's evil or she's evil. Can I tell you why? I we only would pressure someone to have sex with us. Who's the focus on? It's my pleasure, right? If I'm focusing you, it's about me. That's why lust is even dangerous in a marriage relationship. Because see, great sex is the result of you trying to please your partner, not trying to get your partner to please you. Right? There's a greater intimacy in that. And if you're starting out with someone who's trying to pressure you in to violating, right, the boundaries that you guys have set up, it it's not going to go. So if you're singles and you're dating, have that conversation this week. Write it down, say it out loud. Here's what we will do and won't do. If you're engaged, don't rush, into getting married just to have sex. Make sure you're building that friendship. Right. Now, Paul says it's better to, get married than to burn with lust, but it's important to build a relationship because I do is a commitment. And if you're married, you might think, oh, we don't need boundaries. And I would just say to you, yeah, you do. Because you know what? Lots of marriages are destroyed by adultery that nobody ever thought would happen. And so, what about text? Have you ever talked about that? Can you text late at night? Someone of the opposite sex? Is that okay? How are you gonna deal with that? How about lunches? What about business trips? What do you feel comfortable with? What do you not feel comfortable with? What kinda interaction online is okay and what's not? Because if you don't have those conversations, you can find yourself in deep trouble, but you can also violating what the other person thought anybody would know, right? So, it's important. Let me give you these last 2. Number 4, horsepower lies because it says, "If they're attractive and fun, it's enough." Now, I will tell you this, attractive and fun, I think is good. I'd much rather marry somebody who's beautiful than somebody who's ugly. Probably not supposed to say that in 2025, but it's true, right? I'd rather marry somebody who's fun than somebody who's boring, but it's not enough for a lasting relationship. See, horsepower will whisper and say, it's plenty. But the truth is, you have to do life together. It has to be a mutual endeavor. Watch this young couple in verses 15 and 16. It says, how beautiful you are, my darling. How beautiful. Your eyes, he says, are like doves. And she says, you're so handsome, my love, pleasing beyond words. And this is said over and over in these 8 chapters. My lover is mine and I am his. He looks at her and he says, it's not just your outwardly beauty. He says, remember poetry, so there's symbolic. He says, your eyes, I see doves. And what are doves? What doves represent? They represent peace, honor, respect. He says, when I look at you, I see the respect you have for me. I feel safe with you. You're not after something. You're not trying to manipulate me. And then, of course, she responds in like kind. And then over and over, they say, we're doing this together. My lover is mine and I am my lover's. See, healthy relationships inspire one another. They build one another up. As I was preparing this week, I saw a study by John Gottman. He's from the University of Washington. He studied relationships and especially marriage for 40 years. In the University of Washington, they actually have a love lab. I have to go visit that one day, the love lab. But anyways, he says that lasting marriages have a 5-to-1 ratio. In other words, for every 5 positive interactions, there's 1 negative. So we could kind of ask ourselves, if it's 90% criticism and 10%, encouragement, then really that's a bad relationship. There's no movement, no torque. If it's 50-50, you're just kind of spinning your wheels. Where we want to get so that we have torque, so that we have movement or progression, is where it's 80% encouragement and then 20% correction, in the sense that we're going to or you could say conflict. In Ephesians, it says this, do not let any unwholesome talk, and it's not just talking about bad words, come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their, what's that next word? Needs. Now, how do you know that? How do you use your words to build up the other person according to their needs? Right? Well, if you're not communicating, if you're not having these conversations, you're not going to know that. That means it's actually possible for you to do or say something that you think is going to be encouraging to the person you're dating or to your spouse, and they're not going to respond the way you thought. And then that fight kind of goes like this. I don't know what you want. I stayed home for playing golf today, and that doesn't even seem to be enough for you. Right? Because that person thought that what the other person needed is not really what they needed. The only way I can know Stephanie's needs, because I'm not a woman, I'm taller than her. All right. There's a lot of differences. I grew up differently than her. Right. Only way I can know is I got to talk with her. I got to communicate with her. We're going to talk about that next week a little bit. Right. So let's take the test real quick. Does he or she build me up or tear me down? Do I feel more confident or less confident when I'm with them? Do they celebrate my wins or do they compete with me? When I fall and we all screw up, do they encourage me or criticize me? Again, horsepower is going to say, we're having fun. Let's not mess this up. Where torque is going to say, when I'm with them, they make me a better person. So green light, you're in a good relationship if they make you, with what the value they add, a better version of yourself. Yellow light, if sometimes it's encouraging, sometimes step back and let's talk about this a little bit. And a red light, if you feel worse about yourself since you started dating them, get out of it. If you're dating in singles, if they tear you down more than they build you up, end it. End it, please end it. If you're married, say, you know what, we're going to practice the 5-to-1 ratio, and you just used your 1, so I need 5 in a row right now. Here's the last one. As long as we're in love, we don't need a plan. Horsepower whisper, let's go with the flow. Let's go with the flow, right? Probably said that. We don't need a plan. Love's enough. But here's the truth, is that lasting love has a direction, it has purpose, it has partnership. And in chapter or verse 11 of chapter 1, He says, "We will," right? He says, "Not I, not you. We're gonna build these earrings of gold instead of silver." And remember back in verse 4, he says, let's go, let's run. And the idea is not just holding hands running, but the idea of going somewhere. And then, like I said, it says many times, he is mine and I am his. See, marriage isn't about finding someone that's going to make you happy.